Hi, Mark here, trust you're well. Welcome to a recording of a webinar that I hosted about infrared photography. I'm currently studying towards a PhD in photography, and my thesis will be about the emotion of an image. How does an image make you feel? And something that I've been researching is light spectrum, and a part of that is infrared photography and full spectrum photography. So this was a Zoom meeting that I hosted, and we talked about infrared photography. Now there will be another one later on in the year about full spectrum photography, and if you'd like to be notified when that's coming up, you're watching this on YouTube, just subscribe to my channel. Anyway, enough of me with this introduction. Let's jump across to the recording, and happy photography. Good evening, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name's Mark. I'm a visual practitioner, researcher, PhD candidate in photography, and academic supervisor. My thesis will be about emotions of images, and the narratives that I capture and publish are all about how a space and place makes you feel. So psychogeography, if you're into mental health and psychology, the affect theory. John Skouskas's from the 60s, he's mirrors and windows theory. So when we look through our camera, it's like looking through a window. We're making decisions of how are we going to tell a story. And then when we look back at a image, a print, that's actually a reflection of ourselves within that narrative. So my research is all around about that. And the narratives that I'm interested in is things like World War II. How do we respect, preserve, disregard the landscape in our communities and the emotions? And that's the important bit, which is why I've gone from knowing nothing about infrared photography, and I'm just about to start full spectrum. I knew nothing about it whatsoever, and stumbling would be a fair word on how can that help me with my research, my practice, my paper, and me as a human being, as a photographer. So this is about my journey and what I found from a skills point of view and how I'm using it in my studies and my research. So I publish a lot of zines, I write in books. I've just had a new book published all about travel writing. I've been a co-author with that. So all these things, they're all entangled with each other. I find that fascinating. So if you have a question or you want some input, please do jump in. It's not a one way. It's not like when I'm doing a lecture at university. It's not one way. It's a two-way conversation. This is because I want to learn every day. I want to learn something. I want to become a better person. I want to be a better photographer. I want to understand things from a different perspective, a different point of view, because then that makes you a better person. So let's look at sharing screen. Again, thank you for joining. It's my journey of infrared and what I've learned about infrared, and how we can capture, and the tools and the skills and equipment, because you hear different points of view of equipment. And I like to look at something in a neutral set of eyes. So about me, I'm an audio and visual practitioner, researcher, writer, and publisher. I'm an academic supervisor. I supervise students at undergraduate level and A level in photography. I'm working towards my PhD in photography, and I'm also doing this is part-time MA in publishing. I hold a master's in photography, BA honours in photography, a media production degree. I hold my associate from the Royal Photographic Society and also the licentiate, which was awarded on first submission. And I research emotions in images. And I'm also a Lightroom and Photoshop educator. And my learning style is to show you what the tool does. I don't tell you what it does. I don't tell you how to use it. I show you what the tool does, and then we have a conversation in how you could fit it into your workflow if you should. So, for example, tone curve, you can do it in Lightroom Classic, Lightroom, or in Photoshop, because it all uses Adobe Camera Raw. And it's working out when you would like to use it. I'm based in the City of London. That's where my office is. So, what is infrared photography? And there's an image. Infrared photography records a visible part of the spectrum. We have visible light, and there is other parts of the spectrum, nanometers, of light. We see around 700 nanometers. Okay, that's the spectrum. It's like centimeters, but it's nanometers. 700 nanometers. That's what we roughly see in a spectrum, and I'll show you a visual representation of that in a minute. Photography records that wavelength between the points that we can see, and that's visible light. And it's the light upon the subject that gives you colors. And foliage reflects infrared differently. So you'll see some blues and some greens tonight, and the light and infrared reflects, because you are capturing the reflection of light in a camera. It presents it differently. And this creates trees to be really bright, really white, and blues to be really dark. There we go, dark skies. Really, really, they become that punchy black, really crisp. Skin tones can also appear different in infrared. We will touch on full spectrum because that's something that I'm looking into as well. So full spectrum, this is where your camera, and we'll talk about the camera and filters in a moment, where it captures the whole spectrum or the majority of the spectrum of light, either side of what we see as humans. So it records ultraviolet, visible light, and infrared. There is microwave and so on, but that's different. The interface inside your camera, every digital camera that's made, there is a filter in front of your sensor. Okay. When you clean your sensor, you're not cleaning your sensor. You don't go anywhere near it. It's actually the filter that's above the sensor, and it's an internal, and it blocks infrared. Every camera's got that. So when people say, oh, I'm too scared to clean my sensor, you're cleaning the filter on the sensor. You actually don't touch the sensor. Different filters inside your camera will show or reveal, record different nanometers, different frequencies of light. And one camera can produce many different looks. So we've got infrared, color infrared, black and white infrared, ultraviolet. We've also got astro as well, which we will touch on, which we are now. So astrophotography. I don't know if you remember, back in probably 2010, something like that, Nikon bought out a D810A camera, and it was an astro version, and they are really expensive these days to buy one. They're nearly the price that they were new for a second-hand one. because there was only a couple of thousand of them actually produced. And what they did was they took the D810 off the production line and changed the filter in it, or did a production with a different filter in. So you can use filters on the front of your lens, which we will touch on in a minute, but they're designed for astro and night skies. And it isolates a specific frequency, wavelength of light. And that reduces the light pollution from your street lights, etc., and so on, or can reduce them. You can use astro filters during the day, and it helps you capture more detail that is visible to your light, but they are specifically designed for astro work. And it controls a part of the spectrum that the normal sensor in your camera doesn't see. Okay, so let's have a look at understanding nanometers. Has anyone got any questions about that so far?
No.
Okay, nanometer is a unit used to measure light wavelength. 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. So it's really, really fine measurements of light. And the different wavelengths create different colors. And I'll show you in the next slide is a visual I'll show you that. Visible light, as I say, is around 700, but we can see lower. So a lot of people can see down to as low as 400 nanometers. And blue light is a shorter end of the spectrum. So, and red light is a longer nanometer. So red is 720, 780, 820, and the higher you go up, that's where you get the infrared from. And that's where a lot of people, they convert their cameras to 820. So infrared begins at the end or the start or the end of visible light. So here we go. So you can see the blues at around about 400 up to around about 700. And then as you can see in the slide, infrared is above the visible light. Then we have microwave, literally microwave, which is it vibrates the food in the microwave and so on. That's the wave. And then we have radio waves. Ultraviolet is below our visible light. So it's less than 400. Then you get down to X-rays and gamma rays. So useful filters. Okay, so you can get a filter like that. And we'll talk about the problem in a minute of a filter in front of your lens. But you can get filters that are different nanometers. And they cut out different frequency of light. So 590, golden foliage, 720 is the classic deep. 850 is, so when you go off to, so I use ProTech, they're a company, a small company in Tunbridge Wells, and you can specify what sense or what filter you would like put into your camera. They'll take out the manufacturer's filter and replace it with the nanometer filter that you ask. So my one is, I think 820, 850, 840, something like that. I've had my camera now for a couple of years now, I think it is. And I'll talk about conversion in a second. So you can select what do you want to photograph. And it is a one-time, you have to pay again to get it changed. It's not like using, and I wish I knew this, like using a normal filter, you can change it for each shot. Higher the nanometer, the more that you block visible light. Okay, so filters versus cameras. I found this difficult to find out the information because a filter Yeah, around about £100. Or a sensor is around about 300, £350 to be changed, the filter in the camera, and you've got to have the camera to start with. So what are the difference? You can screw the filter onto any lens, yeah, step up rings or whatever. Standard cameras come with an internal infrared filter blocker. Okay. Exposure time is a lot longer on filters. Now, I'm assuming most of us know what neutral density filters are. So if you put a 10-stop neutral density filter, you're stopping 10 stops of visible light hitting your sensor. It takes 10 times longer. You get the same workflow with an infrared filter. So if you put an infrared filter on, if I put that up to that, you can't see me now. That's what you get. And it will allow infrared in, but it takes so long. So what does that mean as a photographer? Well, you can't capture fast-moving narratives because you need a 20, 30-second shutter speed. So it's £100, let's say, for a filter, £300 for a conversion. But a conversion, you can use your camera and just in normal day-to-day taking photographs. So it goes without saying, if you've got a shutter speed of 20 seconds, you need a tripod, so you've got to carry that with you. When you send your camera off, they'll take out the manufacturer's infrared blocking filter and replace it with the filter that you've asked them to put in, so 820 nanometers. And it allows you to take a photograph just as you would normally take. So you would, I don't know, 60th a second, 250th f4. If that's what your exposure triangle is, then that's what you'd use on an infrared camera. So faster shutter speeds. Today, 4,000th, 8,000th second because it's bright light. And I will, when we finish the slide, I'll talk about something that I didn't appreciate until I actually had a camera converted. So the difference is you can target different wavelengths of light with a filter, but you're stuck with the wavelengths on a camera if you have it converted, unless you want to have it converted again. But then we do get what they call full spectrum. And that's when you start getting artistic colors. And it captures ultraviolet all the way through to infrared. Now, when you take a photograph, this was one I took yesterday, this is what you'll see. And you'll see this image in a minute. You'll see this red image. So why do you see that? It's because the camera is set up to capture infrared. And that's what we're seeing. We just don't see that. So it interprets as an infrared image. Okay, so we're capturing wavelengths of light that we don't normally see. That's the whole point in infrared photography. We're producing an image that we don't normally see. White balance is usually off, and I'll show you how I correct my white balance. There's lots of little tricks that you can do and so on, but I've found a real easy way to correct your white balance. And using the red channel in your tone curve can really affect the image overall. So how do we remove the red look? Well, this is how I do it. Color profiles. So this is a color checker. Most camera clubs will have profile spectrometers for your screen to color calibrate your screen. So you can create a profile for your camera, and then you load that up into your software, and it takes away the color cast. So you would actually create a profile for your infrared camera, and then your white balance, the red will go, and then you can then adjust your white balance just as in a normal workflow. And I'll show you that tonight. So white balance, the greens look the foliage works very well. You can reduce the extreme saturation of the red. You can use the red channel to punch out your contrast so much more. You can color swap. So you can go into Photoshop and dial into your color swap, and that's for another night. We're not going to look at that tonight. It'll take too long. To create as blue skies and white foliage, but we can look at that in Classic. And black and white, the strong contrast, really, really simple to do in Adobe Camera Raw or in Lightroom Classic. So what happens to the blues and the greens? Well, there you go. The greens go very white and the blues go very dark. Okay, because you're absorbing the infrared. It becomes really, really dark. Okay, the color relationship behaves differently from visual light. Okay, and you can, in full color, full spectrum, you can change these. You can change the colors and the effects, and it's really artistic. So blues can become cyan, deep, dramatic tones. And then we can then have the failure of color in infrared. So we can take all that color away and produce something that's really strong in contrast. So processing them. Most RAW processors will allow us to do it, but the issue is white balance. And that's why we create a profile for our camera and allows us to take that red color cast away. So contrast, usually we will play with the contrast of the presence slider. So that's texture, clarity, and dehaze, or the contrast itself. There we go, clarity, dehaze, enhance. And it's all a matter of taste. Channel swappings, interpreting colors can really produce something that's very, very emotional and personal to yourself. Always shoot in RAW. Never shoot JPEG because you lose all the information. Now we get full spectrum. So here we go with this. This is an image, full spectrum. One of my students at uni took this for me and has allowed me to use that. You capture ultraviolet right through visible light to infrared, and it allows you to be artistic. Okay, it creates what I call emotion within our images, the interpretation of what we're doing. And it can be very surreal or very subtle. It's not a style that pleases everybody. It's a style of expression. You can isolate the color tones, the light, however you want to do it. So you could turn around and say, well, why not just have a full spectrum camera? Doesn't suit every photograph. So what I like about infrared as a photographer, as a skill, as a craft, is it makes you think. Think past the point of capture. It makes you think about what you're capturing and how you're going to present it afterwards. Experimentation. And that then leads back to your normal photography, whether you're sports, wildlife, the provoking of skills and mindset and thinking using infrared knocks back to how you're going to photograph and post-process normal color vision images. So, infrared photography. It's less about recording reality. It's more about revealing a hidden version of the world. And there we go. This is a Nikon Z5. It was actually the first. I'm a Nikon photographer for my sins. I don't care what I shoot with. It's do I understand what the equipment does, how I can use it. I'm grey and grumpy. The learning curve to go to Canon would be too great for me. For stimulative response, I know where all the menus are, I know all the buttons are, I don't need to look. I can put a blindfold on. So I've always used Nikon, although I have Hasselblad, I have Arca Swiss, Linhof cameras, etc. So the Z5 was my first mirrorless Nikon camera, apart from the V1 series. And my thoughts were when I bought it that I was going to keep this as they matured the range of cameras, because I had two D5s, two D3Ss, two D850s at the time, and I wanted to find out whether this could help me. And it was smaller, lighter, get through the chain link fencing. You know, the lenses were smaller and so on. So I decided that I was going to migrate to Z series over a course of a couple of years. And I decided that I was going to keep this because I was going to convert it to infrared, because I had this, what is infrared? So I first started with some filters. I learned that each shutter was 15 seconds plus, so that wasn't for me. I then went to ProTech and say, I'm not affiliated to them. I pay, just like I expect most of you would, if not all of you. I sent this to them and they took out the manufacturer's filter and put in, I think it was an 820, cost me about £300. And I use this as a normal camera. So that is it. Literally, you just shoot and you see everything through the viewfinder as red. And you are provoked to think about what you're looking at. How am I going to process that? So the first, I would probably say, 100 images, we're actually learning what I'm looking at. How am I going to capture what I'm looking at and develop it? What's the end goal? So I'm trying to picture the processing when I'm taking the photograph. The angles for that green foliage. Am I going to get more of the blue sky in there and so on? And having to picture the photograph as a processed image in the viewfinder rather than just concentrating on the narrative. So, has anybody any questions about that? No? So here's that photograph. This is exactly how it came out of camera. I, as I said at the start, I'm an Adobe Lightroom educator. I've used Lightroom since version 1. I host up to 4 events a week, different narratives, support, skills from 30 minutes to 2 hours long. And I just find it's every tool for every photographer. So that's my sales bit out of the way. You can do this in Photoshop. You can do this in other raw editors. The workflow will be roughly the same because they're raw editors. So I'm just going to hit D. Now, this is where getting rid of the red color cast. You can create your own profile. Adobe does one as a DNG converter, but I have my own profile on my camera, and you can see the red has virtually gone. Now you can change your white balance accordingly, and you can see I've got a temperature of 50,000. Okay, I can bring down to ultraviolet, up to infrared. That's the white balance. So by creating a profile for your image, makes your white balance so much easier. Now, what I've got is a little preset. So I will come down to the Adobe black and white landscape preset, for example, and there we go. So I'll click on that. I'll probably adjust the percentage. It's just a black and white. And now I'll start looking at color channels. So tone curve, reds, bringing down the greens, adding reds. What do I want to do? I don't know what I want to do. I have no idea what I want to do. And I'm playing with the different colors, color channels. Do I want to do that? I don't know. Do I want to bring down the whites? Do I want to bring up the blue channel? Yeah, and I'm trying to get an idea. Okay, so let's just reset that. Oops. There we go. So how will I process this? Well, usually I'll bring my blacks down, I'll open up my whites, and I'll play my contrast. And that's all I will do. Play my contrast. So bring my whites down. I've gone from that slightly green. And what I find is pressing Y for Lightroom, the difference is I can see this is now slightly green. Okay, so I'll go to my green channel, my tone curve, or I'll go to my blue and I'll push it away. And it's artistic. Okay. And by Command Z, most keyboards, most people will know Command Z is undo. And it's a great way of reflecting on what you're processing. Okay. There we go. Go back to my develop, and I dance between the sliders. So now I've done some global adjustments. What am I going to do locally? I've got sensor dust here. Okay, I could select the sky. Now, this is a problem you get with infrared. It's selected all the bright parts of the image with the sky mask. Okay, how would I deal with that? Just going to use the brush tool, nice and small. Bring it down nice and hard. A bit smaller. Normally use just paint over this slightly. Okay. Now, play with, turn that off. Bring my blacks down in my sky. Okay. Invert the mask. And now play with the whites. How do they want to do? So you can see it's relatively easy. Once you've done a profile, it's relatively easy to create your effects. So if we go to effects, let's bring out some texture in this pole. Okay. Duplicate and invert. Let's bring out some texture. There we go. Okay. Let's bring down the whites. And I'm dancing between the sliders. There we go. And now I could add the brush, put some contrast into the brush. Nice, big, soft brush. Effects. Okay. There we go. And now, start going on the blacks. And that's too deep. Okay. Let's bring the blacks up. No. There we go. Something like that. There's so many different ways that you can do this, and it's an artistic style. And I'm still learning my artistic style. But the things that I didn't know was converting your camera allows you to take a normal photograph. Creating a profile gets rid of the red color cast. Gets rid of this. Okay. You pick these up. These are about £100. This is ancient old. It's in a light type look. And away we go. So that's infrared photography. Very, very quick introduction of lots of little things that I didn't know that I wanted to share with other photographers, because I think it's a genre of photography that's misunderstood, not explored, and very easy to get into. I did a YouTube video. It's one of my most favorite YouTube videos, or most popular YouTube videos, about not trading in your camera. And I suggested that you sent it off to be converted, because you learn so much about you and your photography, even if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm still learning every single day. I'm still learning of how I want to photograph something, how I want to communicate that something. How do I want to edit it to communicate that? And infrared and full spectrum photography allows you to do that. So has anyone any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Oh,
Sorry, who was first?
I got Patricia.
oh. Can you tell me what white balance you actually used for the image that you've just edited?
Sorry, can you say that again? White balance?
Yeah, which white balance did you actually use on the camera?
So the profile allows me to adjust the white balance. If you don't put your profile on, which is one of the things that I couldn't understand, when you take infrared, there isn't really a white balance. So you have to create a profile, which is why you get that big range now of light from 50,000 down to 2,000. And then it's you just adjusting the image, how you want to do it. You know, I talk about editing a base edit, that is setting your black point, setting your white point, setting your visible color light, which is your temperature, and then stylization. Stylization is how you want to present it. Yeah, so, you know, do you like a bit of Worcester sauce with your baked beans? That's a style of baked beans on toast, for example. So to answer your question, that particular image, for what I just did there, I put a 10,000 nearly.
Right. So, sorry to sound ignorant, maybe, but if you'd used say 5,000, would it have come out very similar or the same? Or I know you can adjust it in Lightroom.
It would come out. I've just slid it to see what it does, because you know it's a darker image.
Right. So what you do in camera doesn't make a lot of difference to the final image.
No, because you're shooting raw. What you're doing with an infrared, you're capturing a part of the spectrum of light that you can't see. Okay, or more of the spectrum that you can't see, and then that allows you to adjust that part of the image, which is where you start getting those deep blues, deep blacks, what blue would be black, and the greens that go white. So then you've then got to set, and this was the hardest bit for me to even understand or to get to work, because all the videos I looked at and all the books that I read and all the guides and so on, they kept that piece of information to them. Oh, you do this, you do that, and so on. And there was one bit of nugget of information that I couldn't find. There was something I was missing. And it was about creating your profile. if you create a profile for the camera, what profiles do, it's a communication, it's a bridge between what equipment you've used and what colors and lights, contrast that you've captured, and the software knows what it's looking at. So if that and that looks the same, but that's a pen with ink in it, and that's an Apple Pencil. If I don't tell you what they are, you would think they're both the same things because they look very, very similar. And that's what profiles do. It gives you that information that you can process it, and it communicates it in a particular way. So by adding a profile, by taking a photograph, so what you do is you put this flat on the floor like that in neutral light, and you use something like a 50mm 1.8, something like that, just normal vision, normal light. So, not in the shadow, not in a grey, cloudy day, and you take a photograph of that. Then you run it through most of the manufacturers. X-Rite, this is one, Spider's another. They're the two big ones, big companies. They provide the software, and it creates the profile for your camera. So I don't know if you know, Nikon red, there's lots of reds, are different reds, different color reds to Canon, to Fuji. And we can adjust those colors accordingly. But the software doesn't know, oh, it's that red and so on. By using a profile, what the camera sees and your screen calibrated is what the screen presents. The software knows what it's dealing with, and that's what profiles are for. So by creating an infrared profile, and I have profiles for all my cameras, it allows me to set the white balance for it. Okay, it gives me that big range, because when you open it up normally, you only get the normal white balance. Okay.
Yep.
Does that help you, Patricia?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so on this image, my normal white balance is, it's nowhere near the value. Pick a raw image, JPEGs. Yeah, so I'm going to go from 6,000, 20,000 down to 2,000. Well, I at least double my range of temperature of light, which then brings that color cast out of that red. And everywhere I looked, I couldn't understand. Oh, they tried to sell you this and they tried to sell you that. And I had to try and deconstruct all the pieces of information that was out there. Go, why are you hiding this piece of information? It was very difficult for me to find it. Perhaps I was looking in the wrong place, but I took a profile, created a profile, I put it in there, and just one slide, that was it. The red color cast had gone. Anyone else? Any questions?
Yes, you mentioned.
Hello, Roger.
Hello. You mentioned the cost of having a camera conversion at
Yep.
about £300 or so. When I went down the IR route about 3 or 4 years ago, I found, in fact, you could buy ready converted second-hand cameras
Yeah.
from certain people. And I found a guy, I think he was in Scotland, and I'm a Fuji user, and I bought a ready converted Fuji, not a current model, but he charged me, I think, 320 for supplying the camera already converted.
Yes.
Which I
Yeah.
thought was quite remarkable value.
Yeah.
I didn't have to provide my own camera. He provided one already converted, and I've had great fun with it.
Yeah, you're totally right, Roger. So the marketplaces, so let's try and be fair, Facebook, eBay, and other used marketplaces, there will be infrared cameras on there that people have bought and not used or whatever. I don't use this.
I think his business was doing the conversion, so he
Okay.
must buy second-hand cameras and
Yeah.
do a conversion. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. Well, I have just bought, so I'm a creature of comfort. You learn something and you sit and go, right, I've understood that and so on. And I've just bought, this is the Z5, the first version. And the narrative was they bought out the 6 and they bought out the 7, and by the time you bought a 2470 2.8, you were looking at like £6,500. I'm sitting there, I'm not spending that on a camera that I don't know I'm going to like or whatever and so on. So I waited, and they bought the 5 out. It was 1,500, and I fell in love in moments. Um, and I bought the ZF to replace this, but I wanted a full spectrum camera, and I've just bought a Z5 one, this camera with 89 shutter actuations on it, for 500 quid, and I'm going to send it off for a full spectrum. So that will cost me £800. That's my choice, because what I want is my Z8, my Z5 infrared, Z5 full, and I can change the cameras and take different photographs of light frequency of the same narrative. And then in my practice, I can compare, well, how does that normal color image affect me? How does that full spectrum color affect me when I look at it? I'll print 6 foot by 4 foot prints and put them up on the wall in university, and we'll walk down the corridor or look at them and so on. How does that affect you? And that's what my end goal is, my purpose. So that's the reason why I've done what it is. It's the same muscle memory, it's the same buttons, it's the same menus, it's the same that. But you're totally right. Go on to eBay and so on and say, I've got no affiliation with ProTech, and there are other companies out there. And I think it was, do we know Thomas Heaton, YouTuber, landscape photography? I think he got his from that. I think that's where I got the name from, ProTech.
Right.
And he's got a Fuji. And something I didn't mention. When do you use this? When does anyone know the answer? Because
I use it at those times of day when normally you wouldn't do landscape photography, i.e. midday.
yeah, exactly right. Roger, you and I agree.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're a landscape photographer, so I photograph World War II placements. Basically, I'm in 4 weeks' time. I'm off to Jersey for 2 weeks to photograph the island and what was remains of what Hitler did to the island. How does that make me feel? Why have we put that into a museum but allowed that one to decay? That's what I'm going to look at. But we would photograph these things with our cameras, sunlight, golden hour, blue hour, and so on, etc. And then it's too much. The dynamic range is too vast for our cameras. You've got to bracket them or whatever. Well, that's the time to use infrared.
Yeah.
Because the contrast is so great. So you walk to these lovely places in the Lake Districts where they've got these single trees on the side of a mountain or a hill and so on, and you get there and you put your tent up for the night or whatever you're doing, and you sit and go, it's taken me 4 hours to get here to take a photograph that's taken 20 minutes. But if you stick around for another couple of hours with your infrared camera, you can get totally different images of the same structure, same narrative, but visually they look totally different. And that's what tonight's really, for me, been about, is trying to say to people the visual effect of an image with infrared. And I'm going to learn this full spectrum. So that captures the ultraviolet. That's the blue section below 400 white balance below that, and it will capture the infrared in one shot. So and then the image becomes artistic. One of the essays I set A-level photography students is a camera an art, a skill, or a craft? And I ask them, write 1,000 words on it. And I find the way my mind's thinking at the moment with full spectrum, it's really artistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yes, Gene.
Yeah, I've got a Nikon like you. I've got the Z6 and the D350.
Yeah.
Does it matter? The D50, the one I could convert to
Mhm.
infrared, but it's not a mirrorless. It's the old-fashioned DSLR. Does
Yeah.
it matter?
No.
Is there a difference?
No.
No.
No. What is a camera? Anyone would like to answer that question?
A light type box.
Yeah. A camera is all a camera is a box that captures light and records it on some form of medium. That's all it is. And in one of my degree projects, I actually made 11 cameras, all out of different materials. So pinhole camera with a beer tin with a piece of card over the top, cut the top off and so on. I made them out of Lego. I made them out of papier-mâché, Clark's, shoe boxes. I made all these cameras, and that's all a camera is a box that captures and records light upon a light sensitive property. So sensor, film, paper, glass, whatever. So the things that will change is the capability of the camera. Yes. Yeah.
But what you're saying, I probably go for this. I am a sort of an ordinary, a sort of normal photographer. So you probably go for the standard, what that you quoted different lengths, 720 classic deep.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking be a good?
Yeah. Well, if you want to go black and white, yeah. 720, 800. Let me see if I can bring up a.
That's what I would ask the person who was converting.
Correct.
He would ask me. I would get advice from him as well, but
yeah, that it's just there we go. What did you say? It was a 3,000 3?
is it the D350 Nikon?
Yeah,
I've got 3,500 maybe or 350.
Yeah, 3,500. So yeah, so he does the 7. So I'm not promoting him. I'm not endorsing him. It's a source of information that I know and is reliable. So he does the 720, which is what this is. So it's the infrared. It's the black and white, and 280 charges to convert it. Have a look on eBay. You might find somebody that's got a D3500 already converted. That might be just £80.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as Roger, what was the name of that gentleman? Do you know?
No, I've lost his details, unfortunately. But I believe he's in Scotland. And I just did a search I just did a Google on, IR camera conversions. And he came up. I think he had his own website, but as I say, I'm going back about 4 years now, and I don't have a note of his details.
Roger's just put something in the chat. Oh, there's quite a few bits in the chat. Roger's got Olympus OM1. Oh, I remember Olympus. I had an OM10 with 720. Yeah, so Roger's just saying that he's got an OM1 with 7%, and he's recently, thanks to eBay. Oh, he's got a 5. What's a 590? So that would be ultraviolet.
I haven't used it yet.
Haven't you? Okay.
They're that fresh out of the box. There was a guy in the States selling 3 of these things for under 100 quid.
Oh, brilliant. You got a deal
They
there.
normally cost about 90 quid new, so each. And it came in a natty little container as well, so we'll have those.
Oh, right. Okay. So that'll be interesting to look at those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Roger's totally right, and I think I did say in the early part. Yeah, you use these at high contrast. So the days that you go out and you go 8,000 shutter speed is not fast enough at you know,
Yeah, yeah,
because it's too bright, that's when you start to use them.
that's
You
it.
know, you can use them on normal sunny days, but the greater the contrast, the greater the difference between your light and your dark points, the more dynamic the image will become. And
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, and absolutely brilliant. Has anyone else got any questions?
Yes, I do.
Hi, June. How are you?
Hey, Mark. Well, I'm not new to the infrared game. I've been doing it since about 2009, and I have to admit, when I first had the camera converted, I think it was to a 720. It was a Nikon D100. And it could only take a card of 2 GB. It was very small, but I used it all over Paris, all over France. I used it wherever I traveled, and then I got into the Sony because I wanted a mirrorless camera, and no other company had a mirrorless except Sony had one first. So I bought the Sony A7, and I quickly advanced up the Sony line to an A9 II, but I decided I was going to convert my Sony A7, and I converted it to a full spectrum. Well, I found a lot of interesting effects. I couldn't control them all the time, and I became very frustrated with switching out the filters. And so finally, I was talking to this guy in Los Angeles that is really into. His name's Mark, also, I think, and he owns a camera store, and he had a Z8 already fully converted to a 720 nanometer, and I have been so happy with that camera. The Z8 with a conversion on it is just heaven. I was really, trying to understand the color checker. So that's where my question is going. When you use the color checker, how exactly are you creating the preset in your camera? Is it like when we were doing it with the old Nikons and we go to the preset button and somehow we magically store it in there?
Okay, so when you take it's great. That's sort of Z8. Cool. Somebody's got some money and an infrared camera for a Z8 converted, but there we go.
It was very inexpensive. Very.
Okay. So when you take the photograph of this and you get your RAW file, so it's an F file for Nikon shooters, and you'll find with the manufacturer, so this is Color Checker, this one, they will provide, there's a plugin for Lightroom, but there's also a standalone app that you can download for their website. And what you do is you load in the RAW file that you've taken, and it makes the profile.
I see.
Okay, and then you get, let's see if I can find it for you and share with you.
Do you put it back in your camera?
No, you load it into Lightroom. Let me just find. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so you get this file called a DCP file. So there's my infrared one. So I've got different infrared ones. Okay, up here. All right. So these were shot at different times and different white balances, etc. Then I have my Z5, Z6 III, Z7, Z30, Z52, Z50, and I've got other ones as well.
Wow, what a great idea.
So I create profiles for everyone. And then when you go to Classic, so we take this image here, and this is of a pillbox in northern France. We go to our develop panel, and here we've got profiles. So it will load up with the Adobe profile. Okay. But what you do is when you go, you click on the plus, and all other RAW editors will have the similar type of thing. You go plus, and then you go and import, go and find that profile. There's profiles there, and you just import it. Now with Classic, you have to close it and reopen it, and they'll appear here. Okay.
So do they get stored in your library?
Yeah, they get stored in your catalog. Yeah. So then all you do is you select the profile. You can add it to your favorites, and what that does is it's telling the software exactly all the parameters and what colors and so on, everything that you saw. So it's, as you saw, it's snapped, but it's an artistic style. If you were being a product photographer for a big brand, you'd want the colors to be exactly Tesco's blue and Walmart green and or whatever the colors are. Yeah. So that's where this comes in. The color that you're photographing is the color that it's presenting on the screen. So, but we have lots of different different ones. So we have, Adobe's, and I've got, I scan a lot of films. So I've got film scanning ones. You've got flat, you can, and you see it all changes, and it's how the software is processing the raw ingredients. Right? So by using what the camera sees, is presenting what the camera sees.
That's great.
And then you can then say, right, I now want to open up the whites. I want to open up my shadows slightly. I want to bring my highlights down. However, but again, it's artistic. There's no right or wrong way.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the thing with photography. We learn skills and then we interpretate them the way that we want to interpretate them to communicate the narrative and the visual effect. Nobody's got the right to say, oh, you've got to do it this way and you've got to do it that way. It's how do we want to communicate our emotion of what we're seeing and tell that story? And an image can tell lots of stories. Yeah.
Mark, you need to buy this card, the spectrum color, to do this.
Yeah.
You need to buy one, yeah?
Find somebody that's got one.
Yeah, okay, but you can be not expensive.
Yeah, a lot of camera clubs have got them.
Okay.
So hire them out or loan them to, because it's only a one-time application. This is 20 years old, and it's when you close it, make sure it clicks. It's light tight, because if you left that out like that, the colors would fade. So
I can hire one. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, you hire one. I'm sure there's lots of different ways around it or whatever. So it's a one. I bought it because I've got lots of equipment. So and say back in the DSLR days, I had two D850s, two D3Ss, two D5s. So that's that, and I was doing that type of work. So they're about £100 to buy, etc. So, but a lot of clubs that I know, they've got them. So
I
think
it's really useful.
And it depends on what the relationship with your local camera shop is. I'm sure if I went into my local camera shop that I have a really good relationship, they've got one that's sitting on the wall in an open box, and I could just go click. And this is why we support our local camera shops. But so there was so that's June. I was just going through any other questions. Mike, there's two different falls. Can't say that. Old micro 4/3. So how does Mike, are you still with us? How does Sony compare these days with infrared? Infrared, no, it's probably gone. There's two filters. Jeans asked, we've done Jeans. Richard's got a Pentax K3 converted to 720 nanometers, and the viewfinder shows the image in infrared and monochrome with no color. Okay, interesting. So Richard's put in the chat that he's got a Pentax K3 converted to 720, which is what the most people have converted for the black and whites. And the viewfinder shows the image in infrared, yeah, like I showed you, and monochrome with no color tint. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yes, infrared film. So that's Colin. Is that you laughing there, Colin?
No, it wasn't me laughing, but I'm
right, okay.
very interested to hear if you have any experience or any knowledge or any thoughts on it.
Not with infrared film. No, I'm sorry, I've never done that. So that's something I'm going to sit in my my F3. I'm going to go and see if I can get some infrared film from somewhere. So I've never tried it.
I don't
have
think
you?
Yes, I have many years ago, decades ago. It's a fantastic experience. Very, very enjoyable. I just recall it having to be very, very bright. You had to load the film in complete darkness in the darkroom.
Yes.
And you had to take the film out of the camera in the complete darkness.
Yeah.
And you had to process the film literally in complete darkness. You could not have the red safety light on or anything like that. And yeah, it was magical. Very, very fantastic experience. And you just never knew what you were going to get until you pulled the negatives out of the wash.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful part about film. So all film has to be processed in total dark. Where with infrared, yes, you're totally right. When you printed with it, that's the difference. You can print well, it'll be the same as color, because color has to be done in total dark, where black and white can be used with the red safe light when you print. But I'm just thinking about how I can process it, because I have a small dark room at home and I have access to all the dark rooms at university. So I'm just thinking how can I process the red film? That's gonna.
I think the biggest problem is you just cannot buy the Kodak infrared film anymore. I don't think they make it. But if you ever find any, let me know. I'd love to. I'd love to be able to shoot that again.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
David's gone. Sorry, my microphone is there. My Sony sees more UV than. So Mike's put up. So my phone isn't playing. My Sony sees more UV than the MFT model. Okay. So Mike was saying that he's got a Sony. He hasn't said what version of it is, and that it sees a lot more UV light. So that may be the manufacturer's filter in there. Don't know. Vic has said that he has some experience of film. Okay, perhaps the three of us should get together and see if we can get some. Jeremy says Kodak IR is no longer made. Ilford makes. Jeremy has said that Ilford makes infrared film. So there you go, Colin. That's a quick Google search, isn't it? See if. Infrared film. Yeah, Ilford still make it. $14.99. And Raleigh does as well. They make a 120. Oh, I could put it in my Hasselblad. Available from Park Cameras or Wex or Camera City UK. So some film there. All right. I know what I'm doing this weekend. Okay, has anybody else any questions? Did you find it helpful?
Mark, I think there's one question right at the top that you may have not missed from Dave.
Dave, converted a Fuji 720 without changing the filter. What can I do to get full spectrum? Well, that's for me. That's a question you'd ask ProTech, because I'm not a specialist on that. So you've had it 720. I wondered if you'd put a 590 filter on the front, if that would work. I don't know. Don't know, Dave. I'd drop protechrepairs.co.uk. I'd drop him an email and ask him and see. But for me, my methodology, my workflow is, I've got some lenses, I've got multiple lenses of the same, so I'll put the same lens on, but I will just hot swap the camera off the tripod or whatever I'm doing, jump like that, and take the same picture with each camera. But yeah, I've got one new comment. David said thanks. So. Okay, well, I hope you find it interesting.
Can we share your talk with one or two friends when we get the registration? Yeah.
I'll everyone, whichever Eventbrite that you've registered in, you'll get a link a week today with the recording on it, and it's on YouTube, so you can share it.
Oh, okay. Super.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting, Mark. Really, very
thank you. I just wanted to share my journey of infrared and some things that I found very, very difficult, and having access to one of these, that answers all the questions. And that was the golden nugget really for me in getting rid of that color, having the adjustment of the white balance, where before you don't have that adjustment of white balance. You always have that red color cast there.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Okay.
Right. Thanks very much,
Take care, everybody. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. All the best.
Mark,
Bye.
I have just a regular Lightroom question.
Yeah. Go on, then.
This has only happened twice, but for some reason or other, I got a window where it shows I have one window, and I don't know how I did this, so I don't know how to undo it. I have my regular screen. I'm in develop. I'm working on some old infrareds, and I had this problem every time I open up Lightroom. I've got this massive screen which just shows the one image. All I can do is, change the. I don't know how to get rid of it. I shouldn't have a second screen.
I bet you're on full screen. Press F on the keyboard.
F.
Yeah, I bet you're on full screen.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went away.
Yeah.
I think it went away. I didn't want to be on full screen, but now I can't find my oh dear. Can't find my Lightroom.
Okay, so
it's like I had two windows, and I don't know how the two windows were working.
Okay, so if you press Command and Tab, that will cycle through your apps that are open.
Command and what?
Tab. Top left-hand corner, third button down.
Command and Tab.
Yeah, that will cycle through what apps are open.
Yes.
And if you keep pressing Tab, holding the Command key, the Lightroom, you'll have the LRC image icon. And that then you let go, and then it should appear. Lightroom Classic should appear.
Well, Lightroom Classic has got two windows.
It's got two windows, okay.
It's got a giant window.
Yeah.
And it says Collection, Infrared, 3,071 photos, one selected, and it's got this NEF one. But I don't know how to get out of this.
Okay, so go up to Window in Lightroom Classic. Go up to Window. It's the second menu on the right. The second menu from the right. Come down. You've got Screen Mode about halfway down, and I think it's two further down. You've got Second Display. So Second Display, you can toggle off show. Is it show full or something? Full show or show screen or something?
F11. Okay. Oh, good. It went away. It went away. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was crazy with this because the picture was covering up your picture.
Yeah. So you're sold, yeah?
Wow, this is wonderful. I really have enjoyed infrared photography, and some of the tips that you were showing about going through the channels in Lightroom, I have never seen that before. I've had lessons from people that go through Photoshop and channel swapping, and I've never really been happy with the full spectrum camera, and I tried all kinds of crazy things. I bought all kinds of filters, and I found some of my old black and white filters that I used to use, the dark green ones. The dark green ones really look beautiful on the full spectrum camera, and nobody recommends the dark green ones that we used back in the day when we.
Well, it's on my Christmas list now. I'll put it into Amazon on the Christmas list.
Okay.
On a dark green filter, because
it's cool.
We are the weak link in anything that we do, because it's all about knowledge, and if we don't, I won't say admit that we don't know something, but if we don't go and explore, we don't talk about something, we don't go and try something, we don't know. So, I wonder, and it's curiosity. And this is one of the things that we in the first module at university, it's all about, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And try this, try that, because that's where new knowledge comes from. And it's new knowledge in your field of research, your field of practice, your whatever you're interested in. But it's new knowledge for you as a human being. So and it was just, this is the journey. I don't claim to know everything about infrared, and I'm still learning every single day.
I don't know any other people that shoot infrared. I've been doing
it
for a while.
Well, I've got my Z5.
Yay.
My 6-year-old or whatever it is, Z5. It's infrared 720. I don't use it as much as I should do. I must get into a habit of doing it.
In these bright sunny days of summer, yes.
Yeah, bright sunny days. So, but I'm looking forward to the full spectrum to try that out when go to Scotland in the winter, or I'm going to the Arctic Circle in a year's time by train. I want to take the full spectrum with me so I can see, how does that affect what I'm taking the picture of? How does the snow with infrared take the picture of?
Oh, it'll be beautiful.
And how do I communicate that emotion with what I'm seeing? I don't have the answers. I have lots of questions. I don't have the answers. But unlike a lot of people, I'll put my hand up and say, I don't have the answer and I don't know. Tell me.
Scotland is the most perfect place. The Jacobite train.
Yeah. Joan's been on that.
Wow. One day I'd love to go see that. I did a little video about Scotland, and I got all kinds of footage, and I created this whole video in fantasy, and it was like, run away to Scotland.
Yeah.
Something I'd love to do.
People do that and they get married. Elope to Gretna. Anyway, tomorrow, what we're doing tomorrow, AI writing our metadata. So there's a workflow for literally with a prompt, you can fill in your metadata to your images and within Lightroom Classic. So that's what's happening tomorrow at 7.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for attending. It's been great to hear people's input and their experiences, and hope I'll see you again soon.